Imagine stepping into a world where ancient Chinese folklore comes to life, blending jaw-dropping visuals, thrilling and satisfying combat, and an epic and deep story inspired by the classic Journey to the West novel. Black Myth Wukong promises all of that and more. In this detailed and spoiler-free review, we'll be diving into its core mechanics, as there were possible issues that you might encounter, like the game being Souls-like even though the majority says it's not, including the developers. This game is actually one to its core, and I'll be diving into it as well. There is no question that this game truly delivers a stellar and next-gen experience. However, is this game actually for you, despite its stellar achievements so far? This video will answer all of your questions to ultimately help you decide if you will get the game at the end of the day. Starting with the story and settings first. The setting of Black Myth Wukong immerses players in a fantastical rendition of ancient China, deeply inspired by the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West. This game brings to life a mystical world where folklore, mythology, and rich cultural history intertwine. Players will step into the shoes of the Destined One, navigating through a land filled with enchanted forests, desolate mountains, ancient temples, and eerie caves, all beautifully rendered with next-gen visuals. The game's setting is both vast and diverse, with environments that shift from serene landscapes filled with vibrant, flourishing nature to darker, more ominous regions that evoke a sense of danger and mystery. The world is teeming with mythical creatures, gods, and demons that draws from Chinese mythology, creating a sense of wonder and unpredictability around every corner. And if you're familiar with the Journey to the West novel, you're in for a treat. If not, you might need a bit of homework to fully grasp the story. Black Myth Wukong has a cinematic style of storytelling, but like the Souls-like titles, it leaves you lost most of the time, until piece by piece, you gather the story through NPC dialogues, journals, and especially designed cinematic cutscenes. Although I am lost most of the time, I can't help but to see and feel that there is something special and deep is happening, so I kept on digging. As someone who spent plenty of hours in Souls-like games, this approach felt natural to me. But if you're not used to this type of storytelling, you might find yourself turning to online resources to fill in the gaps after or during your first playthrough. Trust me, I did the same. However, I already had this expectation before playing it. But originally, my personal goal was to walk away with a newfound love for the Chinese folklore, given that I am more into Japanese and Norse mythology. And this game nailed it to the core, immersing me deeply into the legends of lore of the Chinese culture, and I was left wanting for more. As I enjoy the game's unconventional storytelling, Black Myth Wukong will get an 8.5 score for story and setting. The story and setting are out of the way, the overall presentation comes next. Black Myth Wukong kicks off with a bang, flexing its graphical prowess right from the opening moments. We're talking about next-gen visuals here, a visual feast of stunning landscapes and incredibly detailed character models, and the overall level design is top-notch and everything feels meticulously crafted to keep you engaged. Each area is distinct and has its own feel. From lush forests and fiery deserts to snowy mountains, my entire journey felt immersive thanks to the top-of-the-line visual fidelity. I found myself frequently pausing just to admire the landscape, and not to mention I found meditation as a whole to be a great way to have a break from the game's relentless fights while letting you appreciate the level design. Little touches like leaves and snow reacting to Wukong's movements make the world feel alive and organic. Little things like these makes a huge impact on my experience, as it shows that game science poured a lot of effort into this project. But the game is not just about the looks. Its great visuals are backed up with a carefully crafted sound design, and everything feels sound and organic from the sound design standpoint. The Destined One's bow stamp strikes feel weighty and impactful thanks to the excellent sound work. The sound of chimes and the overall ambient soundtracks makes exploration an enjoyable experience. The same goes for combat, as when the big sounding drums and full orchestra hits, I know that I will be in a great fight. Overall voice acting was a pleasant surprise as well, as I played with the English voice on, and while the lip syncing didn't always match up perfectly due to the original Chinese voice acting, it didn't detract me too much from the experience but distracted me on few occasions. Overall presentation is one of the most strongest feats of Black Myth Wukong, so it will receive a solid 9.5 in my book. But before anything else, if you are tired of being hooked to a console or worried that your PC can't handle the latest games like Black Myth Wukong, for today's collaborator, Boosteroid has got you covered. Boosteroid is a cloud gaming platform that lets you play your favorite games directly from your browser on any device with an internet connection. No more hardware limitations, just pure gaming freedom. Head to the description section below for more information, and if you subscribe using my link, I will have a small commission that will help me as a creator at no extra cost to you. Moving on to the core gameplay and starting with level progression first. Black Myth Wukong offers a mix of linear paths and wider explorable areas packed with optional bosses and hidden treasures. It's easy to miss a lot of side content, which shows that the game isn't just about fights or just about the boss rush type of gameplay which the majority of players thought in the past. There's plenty of exploring and discovery, especially as the chapters progresses. Chapter 3 in particular opens up with more engaging exploration opportunities, and I cannot stress how many times I got lost when trying to turn the whole area upside down. With this having said, the majority of players will find the absence of a map frustrating. However, Soulsborne players will progress just fine if we are used to this kind of design. And in my case, I prefer having no map when traversing the majority of the areas, as it keeps me immersed in the exploration and appreciate the level designs while not being distracted by waypoints or well-detailed map. During exploration, you'll be gathering raw materials for crafting and finding secret paths, caves, and riddles to solve, often tied to NPC quests. One thing to watch out for is the invincible walls. This can make oftentimes exploration frustrating, as you'll often be unsure of what's explorable and what's not. Fast travel is handled through Keeper Shrines, where you can also craft medicines, change loadouts, and upgrade your abilities. The NPC side quests, on the other hand, are a bit interesting as well, as these quests often involve killing something for a reward or doing specific tasks that will help their quest line progress. They can also lead you oftentimes to hidden areas or even unlock shops that sells valuable items. NPCs moves between locations as well, like in From Software titles, so keeping track of them can be rewarding. If you manage to decipher their quest, you'll uncover some truly unique content. If you are an explorer and want to complete most of the side content while progressing in the main story, expect to backtrack in previously visited areas a lot. Also, keep in mind that compared to your traditional From Software NPC quests, players can continue previous quests that they missed in previous chapters in Black Myth Wukong. Like for example, there's this NPC that I still managed to assist even though that he is already out of the picture, and I don't know if this is a bug. But in my experience so far, I can complete old NPC quests despite progressing in the story. Now about animations. As a reviewer throughout the years, I am very particular about how animations are being presented in a game. The Destined One's movement feels satisfying and grounded in a way that strikes a balance between flashy and realistic. I simply cannot stress how Game Science did a splendid job designing and refining their motion captures. Boss animations are sick eye candy, with their attacks and the Destined One's movesets looking so absolutely incredible, and the game manages to keep this quality from start to finish. When it comes to overall character progression and customization, it was presented in a straightforward, fun way while keeping it interesting and in-depth. Defeating enemies will drop will, which is your main currency or like your gold in this game, so you can buy goodies from merchants or spend it on upgrades. While experience points work traditionally, and once the player fills their experience bar, they will be given sparks. Sparks are your main currency in progressing your skill tree, a special progression system that lets the Destined One unlock powerful combos and abilities. The skill tree is relatively simple but lets you prioritize upgrades that match your playstyle, and as I've mentioned in my previous videos, you can respec whenever you want just in case you want to prioritize a different build on the fly. Players can't allocate stats compared to our traditional Soulslike titles, and your gear and accessories often define builds and provides the majority of the added stats you need. Crafting armors and staves is straightforward, as defeating bosses usually rewards you with materials to craft new gear. This game loves to hand upgrades to the player, as oftentimes before a major boss fight, it will unlock an armor set specifically made or tailored for the upcoming fight. And one example would be the boss is a lightning damager type, and you will be able to craft an armor that is strong against lightning. However, there are going to be secret upgrade paths for your stabs as you get rarer materials that can only be obtained from NPC quests or hidden areas. So it is going to be another reason for tracking NPCs or finding hidden areas, as most of the time you will be rewarded with powerful items and materials. Customization also comes into play with armor pieces that you can find or craft. An armor sets provides bonuses and stat boosts, while letting players be able to equip at least 2 accessories for possible different builds. Moving on to the game's combat and the height of the experience. Black Myth Wukong's overall combat is intricate, difficult in a way, but overwhelmingly satisfying. I will be going through the mechanics of the combat. However, let's address the elephant in the room first, and it's the game being a Souls-like title. In my previous videos, I mentioned that this is not going to be a Souls-like title since things were different back then and we only had a tiny bit of clips to judge. And this is the time to correct this claim, and after I've spent dozens of hours in the game. Now, this topic is a hot take, as the majority of the players out there and even the developers claim it's not one. However, after spending hours and reaching chapter 3 onwards, I can confidently say that Black Myth Wukong is a Souls-like game, especially if one carefully observes its core combat elements. The game being Souls-like is not inherently clear when playing through the beginning chapters, but as you go deeper, the core elements of the Souls-like game will be presented to you, especially when fighting endgame bosses. There are dozens of reasons and proof of this claim, especially for those who know how Souls-like combat flow or works. The game will demand precise timing when dodging a lot of delayed and well-telegraphed attacks, counting the number of attacks per opening before enemies Ghost Hyper Armor encounter with their own set of attacks, intense memorizations of boss attack patterns, and the list goes on. I can be more intricate, but this topic alone can warrant a whole video, but for the sake of the video, I am keeping it short. As a Souls-like enthusiast who spent thousands of hours mastering From Software's biggest titles, I think I pretty much know what I am saying here. Many people compare this game to the 2018 God of War, which I also played, or just calling Black Myth Wukong simply a straight action game, but it is simply not the case. A traditional action RPG will not most of the time animation lock you in certain situations or not punish you for wrong dodge timing, and you will have the freedom of movement whether when dealing with offensive and defensive tactics. Games like Devil May Cry, Nier Automata, God of War, and the list goes on. In Black Myth Wukong, it is simply not the case. It's not just about the regular Souls-like elements like stamina and gourd counts, or aka your Estus Flask in the game, but I am pertaining to the combat's overall mechanics. And one can simply say that the combat is more fast-paced, so it's not a Souls-like title. The developer Game Science capitalize on it and make it into something different. You will notice that most of the finishers or strongest attacks will animation lock you. Missing the timings on the said attacks will heavily penalize the player, and this applies to dodges as well. Even consuming your gourd takes time, and using your spirit takes an absolute timing as well. Endgame fights in this game will clearly show its Souls-like nature, and the player will not simply see it in regular fights or in beginning chapters. While we do have a lot of spells and abilities to perform in combat, the core principle of Souls-like combat remains. If you played Wo Long, on the other hand, it is somehow can be related to this, as the player is being rewarded with precise dodge timings but without your traditional parry mechanic. With that being said, the question is, how will it affect the overall difficulty? After completing my first playthrough, I can confidently say that the overall difficulty is no way harder than your traditional From Software titles, but boss fights are definitely not a pushover. These boss fights are most of the time well-designed encounters and often provide a satisfying experience, as 80% of the bosses in the game are formidable and distinct. Even though it poses a great challenge, it is way more accessible, so don't let the overall difficulty stop you from playing this game. It is a question why Game Science did not brand their game to be a Souls-like title when clearly it is. It is either they do not want to be compared, or it is a marketing strategy, so people who doesn't like Souls-like will buy it, or people will debate about it, and this is the reason why I include this topic in this review. I don't want you to go in guns and blazing with the expectation that you can hack away and steamroll everything. It is simply not going to be the case, as this game will require you proper focus and adjustments in later chapters. Black Myth Wukong is not your usual Soulslike, but rather a refined or evolved Soulslike title at its core. With that aside, let's go over to the combat mechanics quickly. Starting with abilities first, and it play a crucial role in combat, adding layer of strategy. An example of this is the Immobilize ability, when you can freeze enemies and deal damage over time, or even summon duplicates of the Destined One to overwhelm targets. Each of these abilities has its own depth the players can explore, so somehow different builds are going to be possible in this game. The Destined One transformation gives you a way to deal extra damage while preserving your life, thanks to their health bar called Might. And just like abilities, each transformation is unique and has its quirks and progression that players can customize. Balancing these transformations strategically is key to surviving tougher fights, as each provides leverage in combat. While the overall combat loop involves charging focus with light attacks and then using heavy attacks to deal more damage, this loop keeps its Souls-like combat more interesting, as focus is another resource to manage in combat. Normal attack combos or finishers have their variants through stances, and each of these stances has its own strengths and weaknesses. But in my experience and playstyle, the game did not require me to use the other stances and let me focus on the smash stance alone from start to finish. On top of transformations, Spirits adds even more depth in combat, with each offering unique abilities to match your preferred playstyle. You'll find them in the field, and some are dropped by mini-bosses, while others are just from regular enemies. And yes, you can upgrade them as well to be more effective in combat. In my experience, I have encountered a decent variety in terms of regular enemy types, with each of them oftentimes pose a threat and have their own quirks for the player to figure out. Now let's talk about performance. Unfortunately, the game isn't without its technical hiccups. I experienced some intense stuttering, especially in Chapter 3 onwards, along with occasional frame drops and LOD issues where textures took away too long to load, especially during cutscenes. However, I did not experience any single crash in my entire playthrough, which is a huge plus in my opinion, despite of the issues mentioned in the previous reviews. The game managed to hold off itself pretty tight, giving me a solid experience. But there were also a few bugs that I encountered in the game, like NPCs showing up where there shouldn't be and sound effects going missing on occasion. The gameplay experience feels solid from start to finish, so the overall gameplay will receive a solid 9 for its score. Moving on to replayability next. My first playthrough took around 24 hours, and that include completing a handful of NPC quests and exploring most areas. If you're aiming for completion, you're looking at 45 to 50 hours. Plus, there are 2 confirmed endings, and if you are still hungry for more content, you can chase the second ending in the same playthrough. Or there's a whole new challenge waiting for you in New Game Plus, which is more challenging according to the game's description. After finishing your playthrough, you can just continue it and aim for the secret ending or complete NPC questlines that you have missed in the previous chapters, while also in the process of exploring different builds, but it's not that expensive. For the price tag of $60, Black Myth Wukong delivers a lot of bang for your buck with its high production quality and depth of content. For this, the game's replayability will receive an 8.5 score in my book. With all that out of the way, it is time for the actual verdict. We need to consider that this is Game Science's first AAA title, but despite having a small team, Black Myth Wukong delivers beyond expectations, and I can't help but to ask for more. Although there are no unique innovations have been made, Game Science capitalizes on proven designs and enhances them, leading to a phenomenal and fresh experience. Black Myth Wukong is a solid experience from start to finish. With its high-quality visuals, satisfying combat, and creative storytelling, it's worth every penny. And while it's Souls-like, it's more accessible than the traditional From Software titles. So I'd still recommend this game to those who are interested. Just be sure to have the right mindset before going in. Black Myth Wukong will receive a must-play title and will have the final score of 8.9 from JRPG Samurai. Starting from now, I will keep an eye on Game Science for their future projects, as they did a splendid job on this one. So that's my review for Black Myth Wukong, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you already played this game. If you find this review helpful, like the video and engage in the comments, as it helps me a lot. And also, don't forget to subscribe, as more Black Myth Wukong content will come soon. Thank you for watching as always, and I appreciate you all, and I will catch you on the next one.